So I'm prompted to tell you this story as I sit along the Gunnison River in Colorado because I feel like the world needs more miracles right now. And so I'm getting prompted to tell you this story. So I work as a respiratory therapist, and I've many times, hundreds of times, been one of the last people at the bedside of the dead and dying as they take their final journey. And on this particular day, I acquired an 18-year-old boy with a drug overdose, and he was in really good shape. I mean, he was a very healthy boy, otherwise he had made a mistake. And his family was embroiled in a very hotly disputed divorce. So his parents were at the bedside, his sister, and there was so much anger and frustration, and this boy had reached to substances for comfort. And so I had him on the ventilator for 9 days, and they were given the news that he was not going to survive it. So I was given the directive to take him off the ventilator. So every day when I went in for 9 days, I would do his ventilator check, and I would talk to him, and I would tell him that I loved him, and I would brush the hair from his eyes, and I would rub the lines out of his forehead, and I would tell him there was no judgment coming from me, that I loved him just the way that he was, and that I was very sorry, and that I loved him. And on the 9th day, I took an extra shift so that I could be the one to take him off his ventilator to let him die. Well, this boy was in such good shape. I mean, he was an athletic kid, 6 foot tall, sandy brown, blonde hair, good looking kid. Lots of friends coming in and out. So obviously well loved. And he could have technically lasted 4 months as he deteriorated without food and water, as they just let him diminish and die that way. But I asked God to take him swiftly. And I told him that everything was going to be okay. No matter what, everything was going to be okay. And he died on the 3rd day. And I was very thankful. And so fast forward a year and a half, and we're in the Delta variant, and I'm a respiratory therapist, and people are dying on me like flies. And I took 6 months off in the middle of the Delta variant because, quite frankly, my job was killing me. My soul was dying. And I reached out to a very well-known psychic medium, wanting to know what my next direction would be, whether I was going to go back into healthcare or whether I was going to pursue something different. And I wanted to know what my next step was going to be. I wasn't asking about, she was a medium, I wasn't asking about contacting dead people. I felt like I'd been in contact with enough dead people. So anyway, we're about 52 minutes into my session, hour-long session, and she says, "Paul, you have 8 minutes left. Is there anything else you'd like to ask me?" Hint, hint. And I'm like, okay, go ahead. And she goes, "Oh my God." She goes, "You are surrounded by people." She goes, "You've got souls surrounding you." She said, "There's dozens here." And she goes, "There's something strange I want to share with you." And in my mind, I'm like, okay, something stranger than the fact that I'm surrounded by dead people? Let me have it. She says, "All but one are male." She goes, "There's only one female here. You have dozens of souls surrounding you, and there's only one female." That was interesting, yes. She goes, "But let's talk about this young man." She goes, "He's about 6 feet tall, sandy, brownish blonde hair." And she said, "He keeps reaching up and brushing the hair out of your eyes." And I said, "Is it Matthew?" She says, "Are you Matthew?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Ask Matthew how he died." And she said, "Matthew, how did you die?" And he said, "Just being stupid." I started to cry and laugh simultaneously. And she said, "Polly, what does he mean by that?" And I said, "Matthew died at the hands of a single dose of Mexican fentanyl." "It's okay, Mia. You know this story." And she said, "Well, this kid loves you." And I said, "Yeah, I love him too." And she said, "He is so fond of you. He's standing right beside your shoulder and he's not leaving you." I have permission to tell this story from Matthew's mom because she wants everybody to know that Mexican fentanyl has a signature cartel substance added to the fentanyl, which is already deadly, to make it even more deadly. And Matthew died having taken a single dose of Mexican fentanyl. What I want you to know is that I knew Matthew for 9 days of his life/death. And not once during that time was he conscious. But what he was unconscious of, what he did not know, was that there was distance between us. The only person who thought there was distance between us was me. There's a perception of distance between us and those who've passed. There's no distance. If you want to reach them, they're listening.